Welcome back to Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Tuesday, October 7th. If you are just tuning in, we just finished going over the first half of the NFL Power Rankings, teams 32 to 17. We're going to finish the other half up, the top half, teams 16 to 1 in this segment. But before we do that, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Leave a tip or donation with a message in it. Or if you are on YouTube, you can do the exact same thing with the Super Chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go and throw that in the comments, throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Tuesday, October 8th. But like I was saying, getting into the next round of the NFL Power Rankings, Team 16 to number 1. Obviously at 17 here we had the Los Angeles Rams, but at 16, it's those Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys get a huge come-from-behind win against a good Pittsburgh Steelers defense. But still, this team is not encouraging. CeeDee Lamb has yet to really break out. He seems to be having some issues with quarterback Dak Prescott. Not entirely sure what that is. Tolbert has seemingly been the wide receiver one the last couple of weeks outside of one deep shot to CeeDee Lamb last week. Tolbert took a lot of the targets. Jake Ferguson playing a big role in this offense. This team is slowly improving. That defense is not getting much better, and I chalk it up to bad Pittsburgh offense that they only scored 17 points rather than good Cowboys defense. Also, Dak made a lot of really bad decisions, bad interceptions, fumbles. That team is still not a good football team. I saw people then putting the Cowboys up in the top 10. I thought that was ridiculous. At number 15, it's the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks take a brutal loss to the New York Giants right after getting punched in the mouth by the Detroit Lions. We saw Jared Goff go 18 for 18, and I think maybe teams have started to figure them out. Play action seems to work well on their defense. Seahawks, who started 3-0, now at 3-2. They need to regroup, and they need to regroup fast. This is a good Seahawks team. But if a team has figured out their defense and how to beat them, they need to adjust to that right now, because every single team has seen the Lions and the Giants do it twice in a row. They're going to start to do the same thing. Seahawks down 6 spots to number 15. At number 14, it's the Arizona Cardinals. A massive win for the Cardinals on the road in Santa Clara. A massive division victory, come from behind. They wouldn't have won if the 49ers hadn't lost their kicker halfway through the game, but still, positives for this team. They hung tough with the 49ers. Their defense, that had been so bad all season long, really stepped up against a good team and was able to hold down the fort until the offense was able to come all the way back at the end of the game. Kyler Murray looked really good, not just with his arms, but with his legs. James Conner continues to put up huge numbers on the ground. This is a good Cardinals offense. Their defense just needs to play like this every single week, and they can compete with just about anyone. Now, that's a big ask for a Cardinals defense that isn't supremely talented, but still, there are these weeks where they come out and they play really good football. If they can do this every week, they could beat just about anyone. The issue is they don't. Cardinals up 3 spots to 14. At 13, it's the Chicago Bears, the biggest risers. Biggest risers of the week. The Chicago Bears up 7 spots from number 20 to number 13. The Chicago Bears, Caleb Williams, has continued to look better every single week. That defense has been awesome all year long. I cannot wait until they hit their true potential. If that's ever going to happen this season, the Rookie of the Year race is going to be fun down the stretch if Jaden Daniels starts to slow down even at all, because Caleb Williams is playing really good football now. 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, not much more you can ask from him. Him and DJ Moore have started to find a connection. This is a good Bears team. Maybe not this year, but next year they're going to be a problem. At number 12, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. On a bye, they stay where they were at number 12. A couple of teams move up and down around them, But still, not much has changed. Same issue as last week. We need to see if Jalen Hurts can turn down his turnover problem. If he's able to do that, this is going to be an Eagles team that is one of the best in football. They'd be a top 5 team in the league. If they can't, they're going to drop down to around 20 because these turnovers are killing them. We'll see if they've been able to turn that around this week. At 11, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A tough loss, a brutal loss for them. Still, they played a good game. We saw that Baker Mayfield-Mike Evans connection. 2 touchdowns. That's what we want to see. They're going to beat a lot of teams if those 2 guys are playing the kind of football we know they can play. We'll see what happens for the rest of the year. But still, I cannot wait for another Falcons-Buccaneers matchup. That is going to be a huge one in Week 8. Bucs are down a couple of spots to number 11. At number 10, it's those Atlanta Falcons. A massive game from Kirk Cousins. 509 yards out of that guy. A huge career game for him exactly when they needed it. This was a massive game for the division. I just kind of glossed over it with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But this was a game to basically decide who was going to be the big guy in the division. It's the Atlanta Falcons. They stepped up when they needed to. Kirk Cousins finally connected with his weapons. Kyle Pitts had a good game. Drake London had a good game. Of course, Kirk Cousins had a good game. Kadarius Hodge scored that touchdown. Darnell Mooney had 2 touchdowns of his own. This was a really great game by the Atlanta Falcons. Their defense stepped it up at the end as well. Obviously, still room to improve, but they've continuously improved since Week 1. The Atlanta Falcons up 4 spots to number 10. Getting further into our top 10 here, it's the Buffalo Bills. They fall 3 spots to number 9. The Buffalo Bills do. The Buffalo Bills, after a tough loss to the Texans, a good team. Those were both really good teams, and I didn't want to punish the Bills too much, but they've kind of lost what they had. Von Miller got suspended. Their defense hasn't been able to play the same way. Josh Allen didn't look really good. 10 for 31 is ridiculous. You cannot have that happen. That can't be the thing that happens when they don't have Khalil Shakir. This is still a very good Bills team, and I still think they can find a way to turn it around. But for now, they're in danger of falling out of the top 10. The Bills are down 3 spots to number 9. At number 8, it's the Washington Commanders. And I told you last week, if Jaden Daniels did it again, I'd be on the hype train. And he did it again. Jaden Daniels, I'm officially on the hype train. The Washington Commanders can compete with just about anyone right now. They are that good of a football team. They're here at 8 after trouncing the Browns. Their defense played great. Frankie Louvu has been awesome for this team. Bobby Wagner having a good season. Jeremy Chin in the back end. This is not just Jaden Daniels doing his thing. That Commanders defense under Dan Quinn has turned it completely around. I'm so excited to see what happens with this Washington Commanders team. This is a fun team to watch. They're up 3 spots to number 8. At number 7, it's the San Francisco 49ers. Another loss for them. They fall below 500, 2-3 on the year. They're down 3 spots here. This is not a good look for the San Francisco 49ers team. Brock Purdy playing fine football. He's just not playing fast football like they've been doing for a little while. The loss of Christian McCaffrey, I think, is starting to be felt a little bit. That defense is still pretty good. You lose your kicker, you lose this game. That sucks, and it sucks that that happens. I think more NFL teams should have an emergency kicker rostered. I know that's a little bit of a weird thing to do because you need those roster spots for a lot of other things. But maybe like the emergency quarterback, you have an emergency kicker. I don't know. Maybe that's going a little too far for offenses. But we've seen a couple of teams lose now because they don't have a kicker, and maybe that's just part of the game. But still. San Francisco 49ers down to number 7. At number 6, it's the Houston Texans. A huge win over the Buffalo Bills. They didn't look their best. They lose Nico Collins. He's week to week with a hamstring. I don't know when he'll be back. Hamstrings can be a no-week injury. They can be a 5-week injury. They could be lingering for the whole year. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but Stephon Diggs, CJ Stroud, Tank Dell, the running game got going a little bit with Cam Akers. Once we get to see Joe Mixon come back, that team is going to go off to the races again. They like to build off the run game. This is a good Houston Texans team. They beat a good Buffalo Bills team. They almost blew it. And that scares me a little bit, so I only moved them up one, but still a great week for the Houston Texans. At number 5, the Green Bay Packers. They beat, again, a good Rams team. Jordan Love gets his first win of the season. Tucker Kraft, 2 touchdowns. Who would have penciled that in? I know not me. This is a really good Packers team. Xavier McKinney gets another interception. He's got 1 interception in every single week of the NFL season. That's insane. That's not normal things to do. He's been a ball hawk. He's been awesome. The Packers are a really, really good team, and they are a real threat in the NFC. The 3 best teams in the NFC all come from the NFC North. That's crazy. That is insane to say. But that's where we're standing right now. And that is a really fun predicament to have. Packers in the top 5 for the first time this season, up 3 spots. At number 4, it's the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens up 1 spot from number 5 last week. Derrick Henry didn't have much of a game until overtime, where, he just keeps wearing them down and then out of nowhere breaks a 50-yard run to set up the game-winning field goal. They came back. Lamar Jackson played awesome. One of the greatest plays I've ever seen. Fumble snapped, stiff arm a defensive lineman, throwing on the run across your body to the end zone to find a tight end. That is a crazy, ridiculous play. The Baltimore Ravens are finding their footing. This is the team that they should have been at the beginning of the year. It just took a little bit of time for them to get there. Ravens at number 4. At number 3 is the Detroit Lions. And maybe it's unfair of me to move them down a spot on their bye week, but I couldn't ignore the team at number 2. What they were able to do this week. The Detroit Lions, a very good team. They were at 2 last week. They're on a bye. No reason they shouldn't have been there again, but the team that hopped them, I think, proved that they deserve to be at number 2. That team being the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings, 5-0. They continue to win football games. They travel across the pond to London and survive a bad Sam Darnold game. They still come out with a victory. Aaron Jones' injury is something to watch. I think that's something that actually will plague them a little bit later on, but that defense played awesome. Van Ginkel, pick 6. 3 interceptions off of Aaron Rodgers, the guy who has the lowest touchdown to interception ratio in the history of the NFL. Maybe not anymore, but he's been so good at not turning the ball over his whole career. The Vikings get 3. Brian Flores' defense has been awesome. Kevin O'Connell's offense has been awesome. And this is a great, great Vikings team. We'll see what they do at the quarterback position after this year, because maybe there's some debate there. But the Vikings up to number 2. And of course, at number 1, that leaves the Kansas City Chiefs. Travis Kelce, we talked about it when we talked about Monday Night Football. They finally got good games out of Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. Xavier Worthy scored another rushing touchdown. Kareem Hunt looking really good at running back. Over 20 carries, nearly 30 carries in that game for him. Almost 100 yards on the ground. This is a good Chiefs team. That defense is the heart and soul of it. That linebacking core is awesome, and it's going to be really tough to beat this team with that defense, especially when they come out early with the lead and force turnovers. Chiefs continue to be at number 1 until someone can dethrone them. Let me know if there were any teams on this list that you thought was wrong. We're going to run through the top 10 really quickly for you. At number 10, it's the Falcons. 9, the Bills. 8, the Commanders. 7, the Niners. 6, the Texans. 5, the Packers. 4, the Ravens. 3, the Lions. 2, the Vikings. And number 1, the Kansas City Chiefs. Let me know what you thought of this list. Love to hear your thoughts on it. We're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we will be taking a look at the NCAA Top 25, as well as the Group of 5 Top 5. So stick around for that. We'll be right back here on Sports by GSMC Podcast Network.